friends, welcome to Saturn Slam review of Wrestlemania 33 from the Camping World Stadium, formerly the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida. It's just me today. We're going to record this Saturday, but I forgot to mention that we needed to record it, so Peter ran off after I realized that we probably should have done this, and I don't want it to go any further along, and Peter won't be here this weekend because he's celebrating Easter. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be no podcast this weekend either. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on WrestleMania, and if Peter's so inclined, he may do so as well. I have his super scorecard here and mine. I won by a final score of 152 to 160. So I am the first winner of the Saturn Slam Super Scorecard Challenge, and I'm very pleased about that. So I have his picks here that I can go through as well, but I only have my star ratings. So without much further ado, let's get right into it here. So to kick off the event, we had Neville versus Austin Aries on the pre-show. I was a little disappointed to see these guys go on first in the pre-show, but it seems like the empty crowd I remember from the U.S. title match last year at WrestleMania was mostly due to the gate failure or whatever the situation was in Dallas, because there was a pretty good house for this. I mean, it was definitely not full, but they probably had a good 50,000 people in the building there, 50,000. So, you know, it was a good show, and this was a good match. This was, from a technical standpoint, probably the best match of the whole event. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. It was a good match, nice back and forth action. The commercial breaks were a little shitty to have, but to Neville and Aries' credit, they were probably told exactly when those breaks would be because they didn't do much during the commercial breaks. So you felt like you got the full scope of the match. It was pretty much just a rest hold or some taunting in the commercial breaks, so it wasn't half bad. It could have been a lot worse, for sure. So that was that. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Really enjoyed the match. Neville wins with the red arrow, so we were both correct on that after raking the eyes a little bit. So not necessarily the cleanest of finishes, but he was pinned clean, more or less, by the red arrow. So Neville still your cruiserweight champion, and they're having another match at Payback, I believe. So that's that. Next up was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Peter and I both had Braun Strowman winning. Curiously enough, Braun Strowman and the Big Show were both eliminated within 2 minutes of the start of the match. So that's weird. I didn't think that was the correct move. So I'm like, okay, so Sami Zayn's winning. And then they pan over to Rob Gronkowski in the crowd. Now, I'll do my best not to let my inner Jets fan out and cuss the fuck out of Rob Gronkowski here. But he was there, and as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh shit, Mojo Rawley's going to win the fucking Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. And sure enough, he did. It came down to him and Jinder Mahal, of all people. You heard that right. The Jinder was almost not hindered on this night. But as fate would have it, Rob Gronkowski interfered after Jinder threw beer in his face, hit him with a pounce, and Mojo Rawley tossed him over and celebrated in the ring with Gronk. I have no idea why Mojo won. I mean, I know why, because Rob Gronkowski was there and they wanted to get their moment on SportsCenter, and they figured it doesn't matter who wins the Andre Memorial Battle Royal. We've done nothing with any of the previous winners. I mean, I guess Baron Corbin had a pretty good year, but he definitely did not have a hot streak coming off the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He had a really nothing feud with Dolph Ziggler. Hey, you know, Mojo's on that brand too, so maybe he gets his victorious Ziggler feud. I gave this 2 stars. It was a battle royal. They're typically not very good. There was a lot of people in the ring for a lot of times. Oh, we'll say their new Chinese recruit from the Performance Center. He didn't have much, but he had a couple of eliminations, and he didn't look lost out there. So that's credit to him. And you know, he seems like he might have a have something of a bright future in the E, which is exciting. Always exciting to see new people. All right, so that brings us to Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin. Now, I had heard that they had put the women's match on the main card, the SmackDown women's match on the main card over the pre-show because they had timed out the show and said they had enough time for one more match. This event went an extra hour and 15 minutes. This whole thing, our reactions live stream, which we started pretty much at the beginning of the pre-show and ended with maybe 5 minutes left of The Undertaker's farewell ceremony, was 7 hours and 11 minutes long. That is a long, long show to begin with. And, they said they had time for another match, and then they had to bump Corbin and Ambrose to the pre-show, which I was not happy about. They did the best they could. They had an okay match. It wasn't as exciting as I know the two of them can be. Their street fight on SmackDown that Tuesday was better, but I still felt this match was good enough for 3 stars. Not Ziggler. Ambrose won. We both had Corbin winning, so we were wrong on that one. But Ambrose won and retained his IC title with a Dirty Deeds. A really cool sequence too. Baron Corbin went for the end of days, and Dean kind of Spider-Man'd his way around onto his feet and dropped him with a Dirty Deeds for the pin. It was a pretty cool sequence. The match was a little slow paced, but I don't know. I feel like they were maybe upset they were on the pre-show and didn't quite bring it as hard. But I still enjoyed the match. I gave it 2 3/4 stars, maybe 3. I was a little soft on the 3-star rating, so I'll say 2 3/4. Thinking about it now, a lot of these match ratings I gave as the event happened, which is not always the best to do. I have since gone back and watched a number of these matches, not really the pre-show ones, because it's hard to fucking find the pre-shows, which is a shame. They should just fucking have it be one giant event, I mean, the card's too long to begin with. You need to trim down these matches. We can't keep having 7-hour shows. That's not a sustainable business model. Anyway, we move to the main show, and the kickoff was Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles, which I thought was an interesting choice. But it turned out to be a pretty goddamn good match. AJ worked a goddamn miracle. He got a pretty good match out of Shane. Some say it was the best match on the show. I could see that argument. I didn't think it was. It was damn good though. The ref bump happened. Shane didn't jump off of anything extreme. They had a good match, more or less within the confines of the standard rule. I mean, there was the ref bump and the trash can for the coast to coast. And you had Shane busting out a fucking shooting star press. 47 years old. It was pretty impressive. He got all the way around. I mean, his WrestleMania shooting star press was a lot better than Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania shooting star press. So take that for what you will. AJ Styles, your winner with, I believe it was the Phenomenal Forearm. Fucking Shane McMahon kicked out of a Styles clash. Go figure, right? So we had AJ winning. I gave this match 3 3/4 stars. So that was that. I did enjoy it. Obviously, I gave it the same rating as the cruiserweight match. So that was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was a lot better than it had any right to be, and I'm glad that they rewarded AJ Styles with staying on SmackDown for his great service to the McMahon family here. Next up, we had Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho for the United States Championship. We both had KO going over. It felt pretty obvious that was the role that they were going to do. And, they started out pretty slow, but they picked up, and they had... Well, I really enjoyed their match. I thought it was pretty damn good. I gave it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed the part... I don't know if it was intentional or not, but when Kevin Owens broke up the pin with the one finger on the rope, as it focuses on my finger, when he broke up the pin with the one finger on the rope, I it seemed to me like it was a callback to the creation of Kevin painting from the Festival of Friendship. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I'm going to give Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho the benefit of the doubt and say that it was. And it was a cool match. He pins Jericho kind of abruptly after an apron powerbomb, but if you want to get the apron powerbomb over as this, and it is over as this devastating thing that he does to people, and it puts them out of action or hurts them pretty bad sometimes. So, I mean, you have to have him win with it, right? So, I don't have any complaints with the finish. It just felt a little abrupt, but sometimes you have to have that because if everything builds to a predictable sequence, it's predictable, and even if it's good, if it's predictable, it'll get boring after a while. So that's all there is to that. Next up, we had the women's elimination fatal 4-way match between Charlotte, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. Bayley retains her title. I had Bayley retaining her title. Peter picked Sasha. He was wrong. I was right, and this is where the tide of battle swung my way as far as the Super Scorecard was concerned. Nia Jax was the first eliminated. They did the old Shield triple powerbomb spot with her. She didn't hurt anyone in this match, which was good. She came in, she had her offense, and they got her out of there quickly, and the match was better for it. And then Sasha and Charlotte had a little thing. Sasha was eliminated rather abruptly, and then they tried to do a spot with an exposed turnbuckle, but for whatever reason Charlotte stopped tearing the turnbuckle off halfway through. I couldn't explain it to you because it didn't make much sense, but they still sold for it like it was a fully exposed turnbuckle pad, and that played into the finish after Charlotte pins Sasha, I believe, after a bump involving that exposed turnbuckle. Her and Bayley wrestled for a bit, and then Bayley threw Charlotte, or dodged, and Charlotte at some point came in contact with the exposed turnbuckle, and Bayley pinned her with a Macho Man elbow drop, which I've never seen her win a match with. I would have preferred Super Bayley to belly or something like that to end it. But she stands tall at WrestleMania. A good moment, but not as good a moment as it could have been if she just straight up beat Charlotte to end Charlotte's pay-per-view streak at WrestleMania. It didn't feel like a huge moment because, okay, she defended her title. It's not, she overcame the odds and did the impossible, vanquishing Charlotte on pay-per-view on the grandest stage of them all. What a conquering babyface. But, clearly I don't know how to book shit because this is what they went with, and WWE always knows best. Right, guys? Right? All right, so that was out of the way. We went to the ladder match, which was scheduled to be the Club versus Enzo and Cass versus Sheamus and Cesaro. So they come out, they do their entrance. I liked the matching, tearaway suit jackets and kilts that Sheamus and Cesaro have. Now I like that they're finally buddies in their tag team, which is I'm still not a huge fan of throwing them together in a tag team, but they've made the most of the opportunity. I think it's done wonders for Sheamus, and really, Cesaro now he's been more of a focal point on Raw than he was before. So as much as I like to see him get a singles push, it's probably been better for both of them that they're in the tag team together. But anyway, the New Day come out. New Day were your hosts of WrestleMania. They had a brief segment to open the show, and no Hardys, so I was a little concerned, a little disappointed. The rumor was that the Hardys were going to show up at WrestleMania. I had predicted that the Hardys would show up at WrestleMania, and they made this a ladder match. So I was like, that's a little suspicious. And sure enough, the New Day came out, and they're like, we've just received word that this has become a fatal 4-way match, and that means one more team will be entering into the fray. Now, who could that team be? And they teased it being them, but then the Hardys music hit. The place went fucking mental. If this were an arena or there were a roof, that hard cam would be shaken because that was far and away the biggest pop of the night. The place, you hear stories. I've heard stories of people being at the concession stands and then rushing back as soon as that music hit. Oh, I didn't give a star rating for the women's match. I gave it 3 stars. But they came rushing back for the Hardys. And, as soon as the Hardys came out, I was like, fuck, let's just throw out this match because there's no way the Hardys aren't winning and all of our predictions are fucking invalid now. So I ended up doing that. And it was it was a quick ladder match, honestly. It was only like 11 minutes, which is probably the shortest ladder match I've ever fucking seen. Um, so, it was a quick match and, they kind of did their thing. It was a good match. Everyone got some shit in. The end, Matt Hardy gave, I want to say, no, it wasn't Sheamus. He gave Enzo, maybe? Enzo or Carl Anderson a twist of fate off the top of the ladder as Jeff Hardy jumped off of a ladder that would have had to have been fucking 60,000 feet high, I think, and tried to do a double swanton bomb through Sheamus and Cesaro, who were on bridge ladders. Cesaro's ladder broke. Jeff hit them both pretty flush. Cesaro's ladder broke. Sheamus's didn't. So Sheamus just kind of rolled off his ladder. Matt grabbed the titles, and we have new Raw Tag Team Champions, the Hardys. I gave this match 4 stars. A lot of that has to do with the pop, but I think the match itself was pretty good. I'm a sucker for ladder matches. I always have been. My first ever WWE DVD was the ladder match DVD, and I watched the shit out of that. I love ladder matches a lot, so I got hooked, and I'm a sucker for them. So it's going to be great on a bit of a curve. Next came John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. Miz and Maurice came out. Maurice is wearing different ring attire than when we last saw her. Her top's pretty much the same, but she's wearing long pants now, which is whatever. I would have liked to seen her legs again because she has some nice legs, but that's neither here nor there. They came out, and then Nikki came out. They entered separately. Nikki came out, and she's like fucking walking down this long ass ramp. This thing must have been. It was easily 80 meters long. I think 80 yards actually was the exact length, but it was long. So Nikki's still walking down the ramp when Cena's music is hit because I can't wait for these people to get into the ring. They'll be there all fucking night. I think entrances actually led. If you like add up the cumulative amount of time these entrances fucking took, I'm sure that added quite a bit to the time of the show. But John Cena comes out and he does his thing with the fucking towel and he goes to the cameraman, it's going to be a long run. And instead of running, he fucking jogs down this goddamn ramp because he knows that if he actually ran, he'd be blown the fuck up by the time he got to the ring. And fucking, he meets Nikki, who's still fucking walking. She's barely, more than 5/8 of the way down the ramp. And she, like, tries to jog with him. And I've never seen worse running in my entire life. I don't think she knows how to run correctly, or at least she didn't display a capability of running in such a way that a normal human being would run. So we get to the match, and this match, as I predicted to be, was really a fucking nothing match. They did nothing. Miz got the heat on Cena for a while, but there was very little moves done. He mostly just milked the crowd. That was very much pro Cena, or not pro Cena, pro Miz. I know, surprised there. Wrestlemania crowd is anti Cena. Nikki, Maurice was in there for a little bit. Nikki got hit the forearm on Miz, and then that led into the finishing sequence shortly thereafter, where they did the double AAs and double pins. Maurice and Nikki were legal at the time, so technically we were right when we said that Maurice would get the fall there or take the fall. So they do that, and then they do the proposal afterwards, which it felt corny to me, but on the whole, it was pretty tastefully done. He told a story that was believable and I guess romantic. I don't know. It was kind of weird. You fucking asking a girl to marry you when she's fucking going into the surgery and all loopy. It was just kind of a weird story. But fucking he pulls out this ring and Jesus Christ, this goddamn blood diamond that they like fucking hammered into a setting. This I don't even want to guess how much that cost. Probably, I could easily see that being like a $65,000 ring or something like that. Because this diamond was the fucking size of the old WCW World Championship big gold belt. This thing was huge. And then Cena like starts to slide it on her ring finger, and she just like fucking grabs it and shoves it on. She's like, "You ain't backing out now." And they rode off into the sunset. Al Roker had very little to do with this match, which was a positive. I think all he did was just announce the people poorly, I might add, but he announced them. So that was that. Wow, that match actually went 9 minutes. Jesus Christ, they could have cut like 5 minutes off of that, and it would have been the exact same match. So we got to Seth Rollins versus Triple H, and Steph was there with him. Some cool entrances. Triple H came down on his motor trike, and Seth came out with a torch and like a shield on his normal whatever you would call it that he wears up top. And he had a torch, and he put the torch to the ground, and it like made fire effects on the ramp and around the ring, and that was pretty neat visual. And they had a match, and it was a good match. It really was a good match. It was a little long. I feel like they could have definitely worked it shorter, and it was slow in spots. Triple H worked the knee a lot, and Seth kept doing high flying moves, which hurt his knee. You can argue desperation, but it kind of seems silly because he's the architect. He's supposed to be super smart and, be able to adjust his style, you would think. So he wasn't using his injured knee as much as he was. But, whatever. It was, like I said, it was still a good match. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. It was a little bit long, I'll admit. Steph took a bump through the table. But once again, Triple H bumped into her, so it's like accidental comeuppance. So I don't think it counts, but I was still happy to see her go through the table, and happier still on Raw when Vince said that she wouldn't be on TV for a few weeks at least. So that's just great. And Kurt Angle's GM of Raw, so hopefully we will be spared of the fucking reign of Steph for at least 6 months. Hopefully, probably won't be that much, but man can dream, right? So Seth gets the win with the pedigree. Oh, right, yeah, star ratings for the last match. I think I gave it 1 star, if that, maybe even a half star. Yeah, A star. I gave it A star. In terms of this match, I believe I gave it 3 1/4. 3 1/4 stars. It was a good match. I think it just, the crowd was tired, and it was not the right time on the card to have that match. This whole show is less than the sum of its parts, I feel. Like, if you go back and you watch the matches individually, you're like, oh, these are all really good matches, really solid matches. I enjoy these matches. But, like, when you watch the event as a whole, it's just so goddamn long. And it's so hard, no matter how good the event, to really be engaged for that long. And, people bring up the argument that, some of the Wrestle Kingdom shows are 6 hours. But, Japanese wrestling culture is far different from American wrestling culture. These people, these Japanese fans, they're usually subdued. So, like, the crowd isn't as big a factor in them. They're usually pretty calm and pretty quiet. So you don't notice it as much when, they're not making a whole bunch of noise like you do in American wrestling. And when the crowd's burnt out, it really takes away from the match sometimes. And then you could be having a good match, and you can say that a good match is going to get the crowd back into it. And to a certain extent, that's true. But there's a limit to how long you can have a show before the crowd's just too poop to pop. So, yeah, that's that. And then we got to the WWE Championship match. What a disappointment this was. I was looking forward to this match. I was like, okay, this is a chance to make Bray Wyatt a star. They didn't make Bray Wyatt a star. They had fucking Randy Orton win, and, they did this whole fucking spooky projector thing that sometime, Bray would get Randy down, do his, spot in the corner, and, they cut to an overhead view, and the projector would have like cockroaches or maggots in the fucking ring. And I didn't know what to make of it. Peter kind of liked it. I thought it was interesting the first time, but it was ultimately pretty fucking dumb because Randy didn't react to it at all. If it was to like throw Randy off his game or something, that'd be something. And if you wanted to have like a finish that made sense, you could have had like a fucking snake appear in the ring when Bray went to do it again, and then Randy hit him with an RKO. But fucking, they do the thing for a third time, cockroaches or whatever it was. Bray went to pick Randy up. Randy hit an RKO literally out of nowhere. It just fucking came out of nowhere and pinned Bray Wyatt. 1, 2, 3, clean in the middle, clean as a sheet. So much for them going all in on Bray Wyatt. We'll see what happens to him on Raw, but, it seems like he has, fucking ceiling on Raw that's a lot lower than it was on SmackDown because Raw's the Roman Reigns show and Brock Lesnar is your Universal Champion, so he's not going to be on TV ever, and only like on pay-per-view once every 3 times. So, it's not looking good for my boy Wyatt there, and I'm sad to see it end like this. I would definitely not have put Randy Orton over, and this was just a bad match. It was a boring match. There wasn't much to it. And, I gave it a 1.5 stars. It was pretty bad, and I did not enjoy it. So that brings us to Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman versus Goldberg. Well, with Paul Heyman versus Goldberg for the Universal title. This match, on the other hand, was like the exact opposite of the Wyatt match, which was slow and plotting, and there wasn't a whole lot going on. This match was just balls to the walls action from the get-go. It only went about 5 minutes. 4:45 I think was the official match time. But that was all it needed, man. They hit each other like no fucking filler moves, just German suplexes, F5, spears, and jackhammers. That's all there was to it, and they brawl on the outside. They really laid into each other, and it concluded pretty fucking amazingly. Goldberg's got Brock set up for a spear, and Heyman's screaming at Brock that he's in position for the spear. Goldberg goes for the spear. Brock leapfrogs him. Doesn't quite clear him. Kind of clips his leg on Goldberg's head, but still pretty goddamn impressive. Pretty much cleared Goldberg. Goldberg hits the post. Kind of comes out a little bit dazed. 1 F5 is all it takes. 1, 2, 3, and your new Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. His demon of Goldberg vanquished, and now Raw's going to be without a world title for a while, unless they put it back on Bray or whatever, which I guess they could do, and have Raw have both world titles, because that seems like a Vince thing to do. Anyway, so that brings us to the Women's Six-Pack Challenge. So much for them. They would have been better off in the pre-show. Honestly, they would have had time. This match, you could tell that their time was cut substantially. They only got like 5 minutes, maybe 5.5, and they cut out all the filler, and they did all their spots that I'm sure they had planned for a 15-minute match, and that was kind of just where it went from there. Just pretty much, big move, big move, big move, big move. Naomi ended up winning, which was our pick. Oh, all right, star ratings. I keep forgetting star ratings. I get so into my analysis. I gave Brock and Goldberg 3.5 stars. This match I gave a what did I give it? I gave it 2.25, because it was still pretty okay. It was just big move, big move, big move, big move. Naomi wins with a new submission. It was kind of wacky looking. I'm not sure what it's supposed to pull on. I guess it's kind of like a neck hold, but it's a little wacky looking. But she gets the win via submission, and Alexa took the fall. She's now on Raw. Charlotte's on SmackDown. So rest in peace, Naomi's title reign. That was all there was to that. It was, a short affair, but it was decent. And then we got to the main event. Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. This match started off pretty good. Undertaker looked like he was moving around pretty okay, and he did a lot of his usual spots. And then it kind of slowed down a little bit. There was a pretty big spot on the outside with Roman spearing Undertaker through the Spanish announce table. But other than it, like it got to a point where Roman was just beating up an old man. Like, it didn't look like there was any doubt that Roman was going to win, and he just kept hitting Undertaker with finishers, and Undertaker kept kicking out, which the place was going nuts every time Undertaker kicked out. But it was this slow massacring of the childhood hero of many people in the audience and watching at home, myself very much included. You can go back at the end of the stream and see me very desperately trying to hold back tears. So that was that, and lo and behold, Roman ended up getting the win with his fourth spear, and they kind of went out of the place. He left, no turn. If that would have how they ended, I would have been very upset. But they they show a lot of replays, and they cut back to the ring. Undertaker's got his hat and his coat back on, and he's going to walk out, but he stops. He goes back in, takes his gloves off, puts his gloves in the ring, takes his jacket off, folds up his jacket, puts it in the ring, takes his hat off, puts his hat in the ring. He leaves, leaving the Undertaker gimmick behind. Goes outside to the ring, kisses his wife on the head, walks back up to his little trapdoor in the ramp, and goes down. It was a very powerful 5 minutes. Getting a little misty-eyed just thinking about it right now. It was a fitting way for his career to go out, and I'm certain that was it for him. Like that. That's the best retirement ceremony you could give a character like that, and it was if that's I'm glad it's over, because he didn't look like the Undertaker out there that night, and it's sad to say that and sad to see that, but I'm glad that he's ending it now, while I can do so on his own terms. I hope he gets the surgeries he needs to live a comfortable and healthy lifestyle. And we'll see you at the Hall of Fame next year, dead man. So that match was better. A lot of people shit on the match because of the last 5 minutes or so, but the match was pretty good. There were a couple botches. Roman couldn't get Undertaker up for a tombstone. A lot of that, I honestly, God, I think, and I know this might sound weird from someone who looks like this to say that Roman Reigns isn't all that strong, but I don't think Roman Reigns is all that strong compared to people like Cena or Cesaro or Kane or Big Show or Brock, because I'm sure if we had Cena versus The Undertaker, Cena would have been able to pull Undertaker up for that tombstone spot. But, whatever blame you want to place on The Undertaker for that, I'm sure some lies on him. Roman was not strong enough to power him up for that spot. They tried it twice, and he couldn't get it done either time. But it was what it was. I think that was probably the best kind of match you could hope for The Undertaker and the kind of state he was in. And like I said, in the beginning of the match, he was moving around pretty well. He did the whole Snake Eyes big boot leg drop spot, and it looked pretty okay. He wasn't hobbling through it at all. But he got tired as the night went on. He's an old guy who's broken down. He's got a lot of wear on his body, so that's to be expected. But overall, it was a pretty good match. I believe I gave it. Let's see. I had initially given it 4.25, but that was definitely due to the thing at the end. I have since dropped it a whole star to 3.25, which I think is fair. It wasn't a bad match. I know people are upset at the results and some of the structuring of the match. There was a lot of feelings involved, but when you take a step back and look at it as a match, it wasn't as bad as I feel a lot of people felt it was. So that was WrestleMania 33. Very emotional WrestleMania. Pretty good WrestleMania. A lot better than last year. Maybe not as good as 31 or 30. But I think if you like slice it into pieces, it's as good as, if not better than 31. But when you try to take it in as a whole, it's just too many matches. And I think for next year they need to cut down the matches. And I know you want to try to get everyone on the card, but the fact of it is sometimes you can't make the WrestleMania card, and that should just be motivation for people to make sure that they're on the card next year. But you can't keep having 14 match shows. It's not fair to the people in the stadium, and it's really not fair to people watching at home because that's just too much. It's too much wrestling to take in all at once. And I don't think the answer is to make it a 2-night event because you're not going to sell at a stadium 2 nights in a row. It's just not going to happen. So that's WrestleMania for you. Thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry Peter couldn't be here. If he's so inclined, he might make a review of his own that I will upload. But for now, it's just my thoughts, and we'll see you next week. No podcast this weekend, probably. Definitely. Scorecards. Yeah.